What's kicking, everybody? We are back for another episode of Pickin' Fights. I am joined, as always, by Tom. How are you tonight, Tom?
Doing good. Cheers.
Cheers, brother. And tonight we are also joined by a very special guest. If you are a member of the Raiders Chugging Brigade, the Raiders Chugging Army, whatever you crazy maniac call yourselves, you might recognize this guy. I won't say he's your leader, but when I'm looking from the outside in at the Raiders Chugging Brigade, this is the guy that I see at the forefront all the time. We got with us JimmyRaiders, Jim Jam, whatever you call him. He's here with us tonight. How are you, Jimmy?
Hey, I'm doing very good, man. I'm glad to be here. Glad to be on your show. Thank you for the invite.
Yeah, no, we're very happy to have you here. As always, like, subscribe, and follow us on our socials. We're going to have our Twitters up as always. And make sure to check us out on pickinwinners.org. Now, one thing we do have to mention before we get this episode underway is that Jimmy is a professional.
Yes.
Anything attempted on this show should not be attempted at home by novices, by children, by anybody who's not accustomed to this kind of thing. Liz, cue up the title card.
This channel does not promote or promotion any illegal activities. All content provided by this channel is meant only for educational purposes.
And you must be over 21 years of age also.
Absolutely.
Unless you're outside the United States, then it's a free-for-all.
Then do you.
Yes. All right. So, unfortunately, Uncle Dana, he hasn't blessed us with much content this week. I think he was listening to this show and he said, man, those guys over at Pickin' Fights, they're doing too well right now. They just started. They're already crushing it. They're killing it. They've pretty much foreseen everything that we've done. So we got to give them a week with no fights and then a week with weak fights before we can have a week with crazy fights. But what we're going to do here tonight, since we don't have too many crazy fights this week, is preview a couple of futures that you can lock into your to your book, whatever you're using, your FanDuel, your DraftKings, whatever you got out there. So the first one we want to talk about coming up at UFC 263, it is the middleweight championship between Israel Adesanya, the style bender, and Marvin Vettori. I don't know what his nickname is, but I like to call him Crazy Mario. So, Tom, what's your take on that fight coming up?
Listen, we saw Marvin Vettori in action just a few weeks ago, and he did well. He's a very well-rounded, a balanced fighter. He has good stand-up game, similar to Cody Garbrandt last week, where he can get aggressive when he gets angry, but kind of in the opposite of Cody Garbrandt, he almost gets better when he's angry. So really, really interesting there. He's got good ground game. He can take you down. He can use his ground and pound. However, when it comes to the style bender, we saw him go up in weight class, and he was very light against Jan Blachowicz, the light heavyweight champion. And Jan's big for the division. I mean, it's a 205-pound limit, but I would guarantee you that, Jan is probably 215, if not 220, maybe even 225 when he steps in the cage. Izzy weighed in at 193 for that fight. So, it's a 30 pounds of size.
Did everyone else's Wi-Fi go out, or is it just me? Oh, my God.
Kicked ass. He's got length. I talk, at length, not to use the same word twice, but I talk a lot about how, these guys who are longer use a good front kick, use a good long jab, can really do well. And we saw it with Rob Font. So I think we're going to see another very similar showing. We're going to see the Izzy of old. He's on technically a one-fight losing streak now, but, he's still undefeated in the middleweight division. I can't wait to see him. I think this is as close to a lock as we got. I'm excited to look into it more as we get closer, but my pick is Izzy Adesanya.
Okay, so I do want to mention one thing. We got a crazy thunderstorm going on out here on Staten Island. I did just reveal my location, so if you live in the area, don't track me down if you hate my bets and my picks. But my Wi-Fi did cut out for a second. I don't know if that's going to affect our recording, But I think most people at home, they know the style bender at this point. They know what to expect in a fight from him. They can go back and watch the first time that Israel Adesanya and Marvin Vettori fought, I believe, in 2019 or 2018. Could have even been last year. I don't even know at this point. But, you know, I'm going to go against you on that, man. And it's more of a fan bias at this point, where I'm a big Marvin Vettori guy. I love that crazy Mario. He's a bad dude. He's a bad man. I mean, we went out and we saw what he went out and he did against Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland obviously is very deficient in the wrestling realm. You see him training now with Daniel Cormier over at his wrestling academy, which is exciting because if we get a Kevin Holland that can wrestle, we might get a good future out of him. He is a very good striker, but we saw Marvin Vettori absolutely abuse Kevin Holland for 5 rounds on the ground and pound. I don't think that he has the capability off rip to get a guy like Izzy Adesanya to the ground and just abuse him like he did with Kevin Holland. But we do got to keep in mind, we did just see Izzy Adesanya get abused on the ground by Jan Blachowicz. And Izzy, by trade, is a kickboxer. Now, yeah, you mentioned Jan Blachowicz had a huge advantage in weight in that fight, like unreal. But I have this weird feeling, you know, so many people are going to be taking Izzy Adesanya. I'm sure that Marvin Vettori is going to be a massive underdog in this fight. He did fight him once already and really couldn't land much. I'm starting to think as the weeks go on, and maybe this is my fan bias and, you know, a personal standpoint, but I kind of think that Marvin Vettori might be able to take Izzy Adesanya to the ground. Now, I'm sure Izzy worked his ground game a lot more after getting abused by Jan Blachowicz and getting smothered like he was a heat blanket. But I don't know, man. I'm kind of feeling Marvin Vettori in this. Now, I'm not going to say he's a lock because I very well could change my mind in the coming weeks because it is Izzy.
And you should.
But right now, I'm feeling that crazy Mario, man. I like Marvin Vettori.
2 things. Number one, Izzy is has the reach advantage, and against Jan, he didn't have the reach advantage that he's used to. He may not have even had one. If it was, maybe it was an inch or 2. Against Marvin Vettori, he's going to have at least a 3 or 4 inch advantage on him. Number one. Number 2, yeah, Marvin Vettori has a solid ground game, but he's no Gilbert Burns, and we saw Izzy get Gilbert Burns out of there quick. Paulo Costa, big, strong, used to be a bodybuilder. Izzy got him out there quick. Now, say what you want about drinking too much wine, this, that, the other thing. I mean, Izzy made those 2 contenders. They came in there, and they had infinitely more hype, infinitely more, people backing them than Marvin Vettori did. And Marvin Vettori took Kevin Holland down. Yeah, but we just saw Derek Brunson do that. So I'm not willing to say that, Marvin Vettori is phenomenal at taking people down just yet. And on top of it, we saw Kevin Holland land some really, really good strikes on Marvin Vettori on the feet, and Kevin Holland is no Izzy Adesanya. I think this one's over in the first round, maybe the second. I think TKO Izzy Adesanya. You know, if the over-under is 2.5 rounds, I'm taking the under. I think definitely in the first 3 rounds.
See, that's tough, man. That's tough for me to hear because, like I said, I'm a fan. And I know that
you were a fan of Michael Chandler, and look how that worked.
Yeah, you know, he did win that first round. No disputing that whatsoever. The judges agreed. But, you know, and he got clipped with a good shot. We don't have to go over that too much because we already spent plenty of time on Mike Chandler. And that man will be back. He will be back. But with Marvin Vettori, I would like to imagine, you know, that he's made improvements. There's a reason why they picked him for this title shot when they could pick a guy like Robert Whittaker, who has clearly earned it. Now,
I don't know why they didn't pick Robert Whittaker. They should have picked Robert Whittaker.
Because I have a feeling that Dana has a feeling that Marvin Vettori presents an actual challenge for Izzy Adesanya. I mean,
he doesn't want Marvin Vettori as the champ. He wants Izzy as the champ, and he wants Izzy to get his mojo back. He's giving Izzy an easy fight.
Definitely possible. But Marvin Vettori, imagine him as the champ. Imagine that guy going on a world tour when he's got his belt, going up to fight Robert Whittaker, whoever else they present as the challenger for him.
You think that would be better than Izzy Adesanya on a world tour?
Hey, maybe they make it a trilogy, and that's the world tour with Marvin Vettori holding the belt after the second time around. Either way, I think the craziness that Marvin Vettori brings to the table, that sells. People want to see that man go. That crazy face he makes at people at face-offs. Izzy Adesanya, yeah, I think he's starting to actually kind of lose his mystique and his personality a little bit. I think a lot of people kind of saw that against Jan Blachowicz, he lost a little bit of that oomph that he brought to the table. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but I'm taking Marvin Vettori. I'm going to lock him in for a little bit of a wager right now, a little bit of a stake. You know, I'm going to bet responsibly, as you should at home too. But,
and drink responsibly.
Yeah, and drink responsibly. You know, we don't have to tell them that. We're not the alcohol company. We are the bet guys. But
all right, drink irresponsibly.
Yeah, that's what we're going to be doing. So, Jimmy, I'm very curious. After hearing our debates, it is your job to figure out who won that and then get us going with the chugging.
All right. So, honestly, I think this is kind of a toss-up because both of you made very excellent points, but I'm going Izzy on this one because, but that said, if Marvin gets to the ground, watch out. But after saying that, I don't think it's going to happen. So I'm going Izzy in round one.
Okay, well, let's let him rip then. I'm going to get smoked.
Round one's done, so that means it's time to chug the first one. All right, let's go.
As we used to, well, I was in college.
Yeah, those days, man.
I haven't done that since college. All right, so the next one that we got up on the very same card at UFC 263, we have Leon Edwards versus Nate Diaz. Now, this is a fight that was scheduled for UFC 262, but in typical Leon Edwards fashion, it was delayed, pushed back, almost canceled for God knows why. I don't know, Tom, do you know why?
I might have before that beer. I'm trying to think. I don't want to say it was COVID.
But it would make
sense.
It
might have been COVID related.
Okay. See, now I'm just going to start off rip and just say Nate Diaz, it's hard for me to want to go against him because despite the fact that he, you know, is kind of an asshole, you know, I do like him. He's, like we mentioned on our last episode, a winner of the Ultimate Fighter. He's a very fun guy to watch. He's a very fun guy to take around the world and promote a fight with. And he did beat Conor McGregor, which instantly elevates your status as a fighter in the world out there. You know, we've seen that so many times over with the guys that have beat him. We're seeing it right now with Dustin Poirier. But Leon Edwards, does he present a challenge for Nate Diaz? This is a guy who, you know, like I mentioned, fight canceled. And then all of a sudden he goes out there and does he win with an eyelid pull that basically almost blinded Bilal Muhammad? I don't know. I don't really know what to expect from a guy like Leon Edwards, which makes me wary of picking against him. But you mentioned this point for Izzy Adesanya where it's like, okay, we're going to give him a fight that's going to hype him back up again. And I have a feeling that Dana White knows that this will be a brawl. We're trying to get Nate Diaz back out there on the scene because he does sell. I kind of am rocking with Nate Diaz here. You know, I think that he's gonna step out there with a couple of Stockton slaps against Leon Edwards. Maybe he avenges the eye pull from Bilal Muhammad and gives one right, you know, a fingertip right in Leon Edwards' eye. But this is a tough one to pick, in my opinion, because we just don't know what to expect against Leon Edwards. With Leon Edwards, we don't know what to expect with Nate Diaz after so much time off. But purely just from a historical, who he is, what we know, and the drive behind him and the mental capability that Nate Diaz has to like get into his opponent's head and really just rattle him up before the fight even starts, I'm rocking with Nate Diaz here.
Well, I think it was great that Nate decided to make this and push to make this a 5-round fight, because that's really where he thrives, is in round 3, 4, and 5. That guy doesn't get tired, and he's got, next to maybe Tony Ferguson, one of the strongest minds in MMA. However, the problem with Nate, and I don't know if this is going to change your opinion at all, but the problem with Nate, and the reason they postponed it, is that he suffered a minor injury. And if you remember his last fight against George Masvidal, they had to call it in the middle of the 3rd round because he had such a gash on his eye. And he gets these gashes, and a gust of wind will cause this guy to bleed like he's been in a fight with a chainsaw, because he's got so much scar tissue around his face. I'm not confident that Nate Diaz will ever be able to finish a fight again in the UFC with responsible, watchfulness from a doctor. And that's nothing against him. I just think the scar tissue in his face, he bleeds too much. And especially now that the UFC has gotten to where it is, I think that's why we're seeing guys act a little bit more tame, why we're seeing fights get stopped maybe a little bit earlier than they used to. I don't know if we're going to see Nate be able to continue. Now, that means that Leon still does have to land, but Leon's a little bit younger. Nate's been out. Ring rust, not really a thing for Nate Diaz. He was piecing up George a little bit, but it's hard to argue that Nate was winning that fight up until that point. So it was largely even. So, I'm going to have to go with Nate Diaz just because I don't see Leon ever being, or I'm going to have to go with Leon Edwards because I don't see Nate being able to finish a fight due to medical reasons. Now, I don't think he'll ever want to quit, but I think he'll be forced to quit. I think being out, isn't going to help him. I think, maybe the minor injury, I think maybe he's a little bit too tough and he may push through it, and that's not going to help. Now, all of this is going to be negated if this is a typical Leon Edwards fight and gets postponed or stopped early. So that's another thing. I think it's going to get stopped early, and I would have to do Leon Edwards by stoppage.
Yeah, that is kind of his MO at this point, right? Is just like either it doesn't
no fault of his own. Let's just say that. Outside of the Bilal thing, which is a freak accident, obviously he didn't mean to do that, right? I don't think I could grab you by your eyelid if you gave me 100 chances. So he didn't mean to do it. So these are just freak accidents that are happening to Leon. But that being said, it is kind of this black cloud that follows him around, not to quote the great Eminem, or, what's going on with your podcast studio there, Keith, the black cloud that follows you around. But similar to Leon, he just has this potentially this negative energy causing these fights to either get postponed or be stopped early. And I think that plays right against Nate Diaz here.
Yeah, you mentioned the black cloud following me around. The only way I'm going to get this fixed is if people subscribe and like this video, because then we can start monetizing. You go to pickandwinners.org, and then we can start getting the money behind this. And the production.
I love it. Blame the viewers.
I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying, if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed yet, then you can't really complain about any lighting. And then the other thing we got going there is, you mentioned we have that scar tissue on Nate Diaz's forehead and all over his face that will open up pretty much, at the slightest gust of wind, or, if a drop of water hits him while he's walking in the rain, we might see some blood. But after seeing that Jared Vandeera fight last week, there's no arguing that Nate Diaz has ever bled more than Jared Vandeera did on Saturday. And because that was like a car accident, that was like this man got flung off of a 2-story building and landed flat on his head. So I'm starting to think that maybe with the UFC becoming more mainstream, we don't have as many fans that pass out at the sight of blood at this point, like our good man Tom over here. And that might be a little bit more encouraged, actually, because people do want to see the violence. They're coming over here to, football is very baby down at this point. You can't touch a quarterback. You can't hit a receiver in the air. You got sports like basketball where you got LeBron getting poked in the eye and sitting on the ground for almost a minute and a half saying he's seeing triple. We don't have that in the UFC. If anything, the UFC is one of the manliest sporting promotions out there right now. And that
toughest, we don't assume any genders here. The toughest.
Right. You're right, toughest, because there are a lot of tough women out there too that are fighting in the UFC right now. So, yeah, you're right. Toughest, mentally toughest, and the fans do crave the violence, and they do like the blood. And if that's the case where we have a bloody Nate Diaz, well, what do? You let him finish out the round. You bring out the cut man. And to your point about Nate Diaz getting better in those later rounds, well, that's 100% true. I actually saw a very funny meme the other day that said Nate Diaz doesn't lose. He just runs out of time.
Exactly.
Fact. Ipso facto. That's exactly how it goes for Nate Diaz. Now, the fact that this is a 5-round, it's not even the co-main event because we do have 2 belt fights that night. It's like the co-main event. Very smart move by Nate Diaz, and I feel like tactically he knows that Leon Edwards, I don't even know if he's ever been in a 5-round fight before. So, at least in the UFC. So for him, it might be Leon Edwards. Yeah, maybe there's a little bit of blood. Maybe he touches up Nate a little bit. But I don't think that Leon Edwards has the capability, whether it be physical or mental, to go through those 25 minutes with Nate Diaz eventually touching him up in the end and finishing him with either a KO or a sub. I feel like this fight really, just with the time structure being what it is, really benefits Nate Diaz big time. So I'm still rocking with him here. Plus, I want to see him get a win. I don't think he'll ever be back in, title contention. But imagine if he gets a knockout against a guy who potentially is. That would do numbers for his career, and would really help him reemerge as a household name. People didn't forget about Nate Diaz. So this is a fight that sells itself, and Nate Diaz is going to do his job to sell it, whether it be outside of the ring beforehand in those press conferences and then inside the ring when he eventually either puts Leon Edwards to sleep with a choke or he just knocks him flat with a walk-off KO. Jimmy, I'm very curious to hear what you think about this.
Before you pick, Jim, I just want you to know Nate Diaz's previous fight with George Masvidal was a 5-rounder, and it got stopped in the 3rd. So, again, you say Nate runs out of time. I couldn't agree more. However, I think he's going to run out of time again because the doctors are going to call a stoppage. What do you think?
Could be right.
I 100% agree with you. I'm going Edwards because I love Diaz. I'm a big Diaz fan. He's a complete psychopath. I love everything about him. But that said, he's getting old up there in age. I just think he's washed out and he's going down.
All right. Very simply put, I really can't argue with the age argument there. That is something we've seen apparent, but I don't think that this fight was made for no reason, Leon Edwards is a guy people have been talking about potentially going up there and making a title run, maybe going up there and trying to fight Kamaru Usman in that welterweight division. But that age thing, you cannot dispute the fact that Leon Edwards is the younger man. It's a fact. So, Jimmy, appreciate your pick. I'm very curious to see what the people at home think about it. Hopefully you're 0 for 2 when this thing comes to fruition, but we'll see. Jimmy, do the honors.
Cheers.
How much did you beat me there by, Jim?
Okay.
A good bit?
Yeah, on the recording.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, we'll see that in post. It'll probably be a good 5-6 seconds.
That felt like a good one for me, too. Ugh.
Yeah, they're getting easier as it goes along. I will say that, but who knows? Maybe.
I was going to say, I think they're getting harder. One more and I might yak. If I do, I'm going to bring the camera in the bathroom and we can get it live.
See, they always see on there, but they never see the aftermath.
Yeah, that's the problem. But you know what? I see a lot of people on your Twitter thread saying, we got to see the camera on after this man does his chugs. Well, for the first time ever, you will get to see JimmyRaiders after he's chugging his beers.
We've seen 2. We might go for 5 or 6 by the end of this whole thing.
Yeah, I think we're going to go for 5 because we do have 2 more UFC fights that we're very excited about queued up.
Because I only have 3 years left.
Okay. So we got 2 more fights on the UFC slate that we're very excited about in the future. One of them we have spent a good bit of time talking about before. And another one is a fan favorite that a lot of people will be tuning in for. And then we do have one boxing match that maybe some people might want to fast forward through, but I don't think so because I have a feeling that this man Jimmy is going to make some good points about it, and you won't want to miss his chugging. So the next one that we got to talk about, and this is a big one that we've touched on our roundup videos, but we've never really solidified who we're choosing to take, and that is Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier. Now, if this isn't the biggest fight that's made in UFC right now, and you think otherwise, you're crazy. This is the finale to the trilogy. This is the most hyped up fight for so many reasons. You have the man Conor McGregor, whose name, it does numbers. I mean, you look at our videos alone, and our videos that have Conor McGregor in the title, boom, that gets a view just because of him. Then you have Dustin Poirier, who had that crazy knockout over Conor in the second round of their fight back in January. Now he's selling his hot sauce. Now he's making podcast appearances. He's got a level of fame that, we saw with Nate Diaz. You beat Conor, you're automatically elevated to a level of stardom unseen. So, like I said, if you think this isn't the biggest fight made in the UFC right now, you're crazy. There's a reason they're hyping it up now, and it's already, it's not even until July 10th. So, Tom, I want to know who you're taking.
I'm taking Conor McGregor, the Notorious, for actually a few reasons. I think leading up to that first fight, I think Conor was overlooking Dustin a little bit. I don't think he really took into account how much better Dustin had gotten as of late. These guys had fought once before back in 2014. Conor kind of annihilated him. It really wasn't all that close. And I just don't think Conor was anticipating Dustin being as smart and B, as physical and just really as well-rounded and good as he was. However, and in addition to that, Conor was already talking about, he was talking about fighting Khabib. He was talking about fighting Manny Pacquiao. He was am I going to do boxing? Am I going to do, I think there was a lot of stuff going on, and he was coming off a real big high. I mean, he had been off for, another year, and his last fight was against Cowboy Cerrone, which he annihilated Cowboy. And the step up in competition between Cowboy and Dustin is stark, right? I love Cowboy. I'm a huge Cowboy fan. He's probably one of my favorites. That being said, he's not challenging for a belt. We've seen the decline of Cowboy, and I hate to see it, but it is a matter of fact here. I think Conor's going to get back to the karate style. He's going to be lighter on that front leg. It's going to be harder for Dustin to touch it up. In addition, we saw Dustin kind of look a little silly when Teddy Atlas basically just showed up his game plan. Hey, if I'm you, I'm going to fake the low kick, come up with the overhand, and cut to Dustin Poirier. Yeah. So I think, maybe Dustin Poirier's game plan was maybe just a little bit simple coming in, thinking, maybe now he's overlooking Conor. And we talked about this in our last video that, similar to what you said, Keith, after you fight Conor, and especially after you beat Conor, you have a new level of stardom that you didn't have before, no matter how good you are. John Jones, undefeated, he'd have a new level of stardom after beating a Conor McGregor. So it doesn't matter who you are. You have a new amount of eyeballs on you after beating Conor. Now they're going for the trilogy, and we could tell that Dustin is more interested in the money fight and the eyeballs than he is the actual belt, because he picked Conor over the championship belt. So for those reasons, I think, that may get to Dustin. He's got the hot sauce. He's got the charity. Who knows what other businesses and other ventures he's got. I think I heard a rumor that he's starting his own gym as well. Maybe not for him to personally train at. Like, I don't see him leaving his team. But, these different business ventures and all these other things, definitely, you only have so much mental bandwidth, right, Keith? Right, Jim? You only have so much mental bandwidth. And when you have all of these other things taking up time, that's less time you have to dedicate and think about fighting. Conor, I think he's stayed where he was. He's been in basically Abu Dhabi the whole time. He's been training and hanging out with his family. And in a week or two, he's going to go. He's going to leave his family. He's going to train at all. I think Conor's back is up against the wall more so than Dustin Poirier's is. I think, especially with what Kamaru Usman was saying about Conor being just a regular fighter that just has a lot of money and likes to talk. One thing, why is Conor McGregor still fighting? Because there's a rush in fighting that he can't get anywhere else. He's not fighting for the money. Yes, he loves to brag about his money. But the rush of walking out and the fans cheering, the limelight, hearing buffer, fighting, winning, all of that stuff you can't get it outside of the octagon. And he understands that, he's 32, 33 years old. He doesn't have a lot of time left. We've seen the demise of these guys as they get to 36, 37, 38. So I think Conor's going to come back with a renewed sense of invigoration, with determination. I think he's going to, like I said, light on the feet, pop in the left hand, or I'm sorry, I'm orthodox. He's southpaw, so he's popping back here. He's gonna be popping the jab as he's coming with the left hand. I think Conor's gonna win this one. I think he's gonna win it fairly dominantly. Conor's never lost twice in a row. He's never lost to the same opponent twice. And every time he's lost, he's always turned around quick. He lost to Diaz. He turned around quick and fought him again. Now, he didn't turn around and fight Khabib again, but that was largely because that one really wasn't competitive, and Khabib was going to take him down and he was going to maul him. But, he fought Nate Diaz again, and I don't see Conor McGregor losing twice. I like Conor McGregor a lot in this one, and I'm picking that both as a fan and as someone who's, analyzing these fights.
There's only two ways that Dustin Poirier wins this fight. If Conor McGregor comes out as a boxer again like he did the second time that they fought back in January, and if Dustin Poirier gets to walk in with a bottle of hot sauce and squeeze it in Conor McGregor's eyes before the fight starts, those are the only two ways that Dustin Poirier is winning this fight. I'm 100% with you on Conor McGregor winning this one. Like you mentioned, never lost the same guy twice. I feel like that is going to ring very true in this fight. And then not to mention the fact, so just to go back to what you said about Khabib, well, Khabib was the champ. And you don't really give the same guy two back-to-back, against the champ. You do have to kind of run.
Well, unless you're a bitch like Kamaru, and he just took George again because it's a money fight and he knew he could win it easily. He's been ducking Colby Covington, but that's a discussion for another video.
And that's a made fight too. And I have a feeling that Kamaru is talking so much shit about Conor because he knows that Colby is going to come out and smoke him and give him.
He's trying to do everything he can to get away from Colby. Yeah, I sincerely believe that. I may be wrong, but I believe that.
Yeah, I hope Kamaru Usman is watching this right now and saying to himself, well, maybe I should do a bit more talking about the guy that I'm about to fight, not a guy that I'll never see in the octagon. But, yeah, you're 100% correct on all those points. And like I said, the only way Dustin is winning is if he comes out and squirts a little bottle of that Dustin Poirier hot sauce in Conor's eyes
which I hear is very good.
So have I. No food, but I will be buying a bottle of that when this show is over because, man, you've given it raving reviews. And but two things I do want to mention, right? I saw a picture. I'm not a very superstitious guy outside of UFC, but when it comes to the MMA community and when it comes to the fight world, I do get a little bit of superstition, right? We had that interview with Michael Chandler on the TV and Ariel Helwani sitting in that fancy little ESPN brownstone. Michael Chandler goes out and loses in the same fashion that everyone else that Ariel Helwani has interviewed people in that setting. Among other things, you got Chael Sonnen picking people. He got 2 right this year. Other than that, I believe he's 2-10 this year picking fights. So I do get a little bit of superstition. I think Conor McGregor growing his hair back out works very well in his favor. Now, this is going to be silly. If you're watching this at home, you might be saying to yourself, how does growing hair work in someone's favor? Well, if you're a superstitious guy, we'll throw this picture up for you. The first time that Dustin and Conor fought, Conor McGregor had long hair and a backwards trucker cap. Dustin Poirier, on the other hand, was bald, no hat. They fight in January. Dustin is wearing the backwards hat, just like Tom is right now, and Conor comes out bald. Conor loses. Now, Conor posted a picture on Twitter today where he's growing his hair back out. I don't know if Conor McGregor is a very superstitious guy, but when I see the trends that are forming in MMA and all the superstitious, culture around it, and you see Conor McGregor growing his hair back out, that just kind of says to me, is there a little bit of, MMA gods working against the bald guys here? So I might be taking Conor based on the fact that he's growing his hair back out. I hope he comes out in a backwards trucker cap and Dustin is decides to shave his head before the fight starts, because if that happens, we have ourselves a lock, ladies and gentlemen. But you're right. The numbers do work in Conor's favor. Never lost to the same guy twice. I'm going out on a limb here, but I don't think he's ever lost in July. So, he does have that beautiful summer month, which happens to be my birthday month, going for him right there. July is a great month. If you're born in July, thank you very much for contributing to Conor McGregor's success. But yeah, man, I'm rocking with Conor heavily here. And if he comes out in that karate stance, we're going to know off rip, this is a W for Conor. And then the other thing is, yeah, like you mentioned, Teddy Atlas coming out and exposing Dustin's game plan 6 weeks out from a fight doesn't really bode well for Dustin Poirier. Will he get a new strategy? Probably not, because he's so focused on other things. Maybe he doesn't even have the time at this point to develop a new strategy with his coaches. Conor McGregor, on the other hand, you don't really know what to expect from him. It's almost like he doesn't have a strategy going in, and he just feels it out like every fight. You can get a feel for that whether you go back and watch him fight Jose Aldo, Chad Mendez, or against Cowboy. He just kind of goes in there, feels out his opponent, and sees what they're doing. I'm sure he has some level of a base strategy there, but I think he does a lot of thinking on his feet. And the fact that Dustin had such a rock-solid strategy going in that actually was very simple doesn't bode well for him. I'm probably rambling at this point. We did chug 2 beers, so keep that in mind if you're just watching this in clip form. But, yeah, we're both rocking with Conor. Do you have anything else you want to say about this one, Tom?
No, I want to hear what Jim has to say.
Yeah, I'm very curious.
So I'm actually going to go against you two, and I'm going with my man Poirier. I think for the fight, he's going to come out with a huge chip on his shoulder, and just want to prove he's the best and come out with the win. Okay.
See, one thing I forgot to mention is the fact that Conor already has tweeted that so Charles Oliveira is the 11th belt holder in the lightweight division. Can't wait to see.
That was sick.
Yeah.
Charles Oliveira, not to steal the thunder, but Charles Oliveira is the 11th. Who's going to be the 12th? He has the proper 12. The storylines match up, but here's the question. Here's the thing. If you're Conor McGregor and you win this next fight, do you want to go Charles Oliveira, or do you go to 170 and fight Kamaru? Because if you fight Kamaru and lose, you have a built-in excuse. If you fight Kamaru and win, well, now you got the 170 belt, and you can challenge 155 whenever you want.
Yeah.
So I think that's a pretty interesting dynamic to ponder if you're Conor McGregor. But again, honestly, what I like is that he's not looking too far ahead of Dustin Poirier. In the January fight, he was talking about this. He's going to do that. And he was doing a lot of talking past Dustin Poirier. In this fight, he's really not. He's very focused on Dustin. That's what I like to see, and that's why I like Conor.
Yeah, I mean, I think that with Dustin, you hit the nail on the head before. Like, this is the money fight. It's the popularity fight. And if it was up to Conor, he would go right up to Charles and fight for the belt. And I think that, you want to talk about a chip on his shoulder, Jimmy. Conor's got that chip more than anybody because he wants that belt back bad. So, with that being said, with the fact that Dustin is doing it for the money, and Conor, let's not pass over the fact that he was the highest paid athlete in 2020. He does not need the money. He's fighting for the glory, he's fighting for the legacy, and he's fighting for the belt. So, Jimmy, does that change your mind at all?
I'm still going with Dustin, man.
Jimmy, all right.
Too much time on Twitter running his mouth instead of being in the gym working on his game.
Okay.
Honestly.
Okay. I get that. So we got the two of us are going with Conor. Jimmy, I'm hoping, I'm praying that July rolls around and you are 0 for 3, brother. I love you, Jim, but I can't have you winning your picks. So with that being said, let's let it rip.
Round 3.
I said they were easier before. I said they were getting easier. 3 rounds. 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 3 ro I lied. They're not getting any easier. Woo, brother. Okay.
If we could clip my burps there, I feel like that could be something that goes that could start a trend. You know, Jimmy, how about that for your Twitter? You have your chugging and then the subsequent the burps following the chugging. And it's just all Raider fans just
I feel like that original Willy Wonka movie when it's him and Uncle whatever, Charlie and Uncle whatever, the old guy, and they go into that fan room and they gotta drink the soda and
yeah.
that's how I feel right now. All right, so we
Good
got
night. Here's
we got the Voodoo Rangers on deck. See, I got Bud Lights because I thought that was your thing, Jimmy.
you're drinking that Chargers fans water.
Oh shit, brother. Well,
No. There's no such thing as Chargers fans. There's like maybe 3 of them. They're an endangered species.
Well, the one was Fat Incognito's like twin brother chugging a Bud fucking shit. I'm like, bro, why are you bragging about a Bud Light?
Yeah,
hey, don't be talking shit about my boy Richie Incognito. He's done a big 180 with his life. I'm a big fan of Richie Incognito. Also, that dude, I don't think you could fit more muscle and more mass on a singular person. And he comes out there, and I mean, he's loving everybody. I think there was a fight in what it was either last year or 2 years ago. There was a fight, and Richie Incognito ran the other way, and he's like, "Listen, I can't get involved with that. I'm gonna get as far away from this as possible." I love it.
His reputation is on the line, just like ours if we don't get back to talking about UFC real quick. We'll save the Raiders talk for the end. So the next one we got up, it is a bit of a fan favorite. I won't even say a bit of a fan favorite because me personally, I'm a huge Gilbert Burns guy. And I know you, Tom, you are a big Stephen Wonderboy Thompson fan. Now,
what's up, everybody? That's if you watch his YouTube channel, which if you don't, give it a follow. It's very interesting. He's got a lot of
great follow ours.
After you follow and subscribe to ours, go over to Stephen Wonderboy Thompson's YouTube channel. I guarantee you'll like it, and then you'll get the whole What's Up Everybody show.
Yeah, so but make sure you subscribe to ours first before you head over to his channel. He's a great guy. You know, he is the
NMF,
the nicest MF in the UFC. You know, I feel like he never has a bad thing to say about anybody. And while I do love Stephen Thompson, I'm a huge fan of Gilbert Burns. He's probably one of the, if not the best, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner in the UFC right now. He had Kamaru Usman scared to go to the ground with him in their fight back in January. And yeah, you know, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, he is one of the best kickboxers out there. He's an incredible striker, but I have this weird feeling in my gut, and my gut never leads me in the wrong direction, that Gilbert Burns is trying to make another push to get that belt. You know, you have Kamaru Usman saying he wants to lap everybody in the welterweight division. Well, who's one of the next names up there? It's Gilbert Burns. And Gilbert Burns also feels like he's deserving of another title shot. How do you get another title shot? You prove yourself in these fights that they set up for you now. He's got the drive to get that title shot again. He's got the skill. He's got the technique to get that title shot again. And yeah, while Stephen Wonderboy Thompson is one of the best strikers out there, you cannot discredit Gilbert Burns' striking. He was one of the first people I've ever seen really rock Kamaru Usman since he became the belt holder in the welterweight division. Gilbert Burns can do it all. He's got it on the feet. He's got it on the ground. If he brings you to the ground, say goodbye to a limb. Say goodnight because you're getting choked out. Say goodbye to all your chances of making your way back to a title fight. And I have a feeling that at this point, Wonderboy, he kind of knows he's not getting another title shot. Gilbert Burns, on the other hand, he's getting it, man. And it's all going to start with a big victory over Wonderboy, all right? I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if he knocks out Wonderboy on his feet, which is a huge possibility because Gilbert Burns, he's got the arms, he's got the charm, and he's got the hands that do harm, to quote Chael Sonnen. Dude, Gilbert Burns, he's just a lovable guy, almost as lovable as Stephen Thompson. But he's also got the ground game that Stephen Thompson doesn't have. And if this becomes a ground fight with minutes left in a round, he's going to take a limb from Stephen. It's unfortunate that that's how it's going to go, but he's going to put him in a heel hook or an arm bar, or he's going to find a crazy choke because he wants that title shot again. I don't see how you can dispute the fact that Stephen Thompson is going to win this if it goes to the ground. He doesn't have the capability to move the way that Gilbert Burns does. And if Gilbert Burns is laying on his back, giving him a come here, Stephen Thompson better not go down with him.
Well, Stephen Thompson's smart enough to not go down with him, number one. Number two, Gilbert Burns isn't the best jiu-jitsu practitioner in the UFC. It's Charles Oliveira, but we'll forgo that for a second. Number three, Stephen Thompson has not been taken down that much in the UFC. His losses are a KO to Anthony Pettis, and other than that, they're unanimous decisions. He's the one doing the knocking out. He's the one landing. He's probably one of the best, most underrated strikers in the UFC. Kamaru Usman doesn't wrestle. Yes, he's got the wrestling, but he rarely wrestles anymore. So to say that Kamaru was afraid to go against him on the ground, Kamaru's got such bad knees. He doesn't want to go against anyone on the ground. He doesn't even want to run on concrete. So all of that being said, I really like Stephen because of his length, because of his superior knowledge of striking. I think he is he's the 170 is he Adesanya, to be honest with you. He's such an intelligent guy. You know, he's talking about the ridge hand. If you don't know what a ridge hand is, it's basically you use either this part of your wrist or this part of your bone here, or let me get in the camera, this part here to smack somebody. Not really used in the UFC that much. It's used in karate. I think there's a potential that, maybe he breaks it out against Gilbert Burns. If Gilbert Burns doesn't know what to do with it, smack him with the rich hand right in the neck. See what happens. I don't know. I really like Stephen Thompson because of his creativity, standing up, his ability to use his long limbs and his strikes. I mean, this is a guy that pieced up George Masvidal easily. A unanimous decision. George wasn't even close to winning a round. And in a 3-round fight, I think it was a unanimous decision, 30-27 for Stephen Thompson. So a guy who doesn't usually get taken down, a guy that's one of the best strikers on the feet. And listen, we talked about Kamaru and how he looks for every fight that he knows he can win and avoids people that he's going to lose to. Well, who has Kamaru talked about the least? Colby Covington, and he hasn't said a word about Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, even though Stephen Wonderboy's on a 3-fight win streak, has proven that he's still one of the best in the division. He's rated number 4 or 5, but should be honestly higher. Give Stephen Thompson a shot against Kamaru. I really like his chances. I like him against Gilbert Burns. You're right. If Gilbert can get him to the ground, that spells trouble for Stephen Thompson. But if Stephen Thompson can stay on the feet, back up to the cage, use his length to stop Gilbert from being able to get the double leg or stop him from scooping him to the ground. I like Stephen Thompson a lot in this fight. However, styles make fight, and this is going to be a really, really great fight. I cannot wait. I think you could say I'm looking forward to this fight more than I'm looking forward to Conor and Dustin. And partially because I'm a Stephen Wonderboy Thompson guy. I see myself taking a trip down to Greenville, South Carolina very soon to go to Ray Thompson MMA or Ray Thompson Kick Karate, or I think it's called Upstate Karate is what it's called. I'd go down there just to meet the guy. Apparently he's very accessible, the nicest guy in the world. Would love to take a few classes. I'm going Stephen Thompson all the way. Stephen Wonderboy, if you're seeing this, give the boy some love. Give us a subscribe. I subscribe to you. It would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that would be pretty incredible because he is so active out on social media and YouTube. We would love to have Stephen Wonderboy Thompson come on the show. And don't get me wrong, I love you, Stephen. You're an incredible guy to watch. I love your videos.
You're talking straight to him now.
Credit those to those Bud Lights chugged plus my time at the bar before we started filming. But, you're right. On the feet does bring a little bit of a challenge to Gilbert Burns. But get me here, right? We did see him rock Kamaru Usman, who he's really improved.
He's ducking Stephen Wonderboy. So,
what'd you say?
I said he rocked Kamaru, but Kamaru's ducking Steven for the same reason. I think there's going to be a big disparity in terms of on the feet when it comes to Steven versus Gilbert.
You're not wrong, but I will say this about Gilbert. He did learn a lot from that fight against Kamaru. And I interacted with him a bit on social. We did have a bit of back and forth positively on his Instagram lives after he lost that fight against Kamaru. And, you could see in his emotional reaction plus his tactical reaction to it, he immediately said, I rocked Kamaru and I got crazy.
Right.
And I do think that Gilbert Burns has learned a lot from that fight. And Gilbert Burns, in my opinion, he is the next guy to hold that belt because of the challenge that he presents standing and on the ground. I mean, on the ground, there's no question that in that okay, maybe he's not the best in the UFC, but in the welterweight division, he is the best Brazilian jiu-jitsu practitioner in the UFC. There's no way to debate that whatsoever. There's a reason why that fight was made back in January. And I think that the amount of knowledge that he learned and gathered just from that Kamaru-Usman matchup about striking more than anything really benefits him going forward. He did learn a lot. And I have a feeling that, with Gilbert Burns having that belt so close in grasp, he wants that chance again. And I think that's the biggest driver going forward is, okay, yeah, you want to talk about social media and who interacts with who. Well, Gilbert Burns tweets consistently, is on Instagram consistently saying that he will have that belt again. I haven't seen a single video or anything of Stephen Thompson saying, I'm going to have that belt. And,
Talk is cheap.
Okay, talk is cheap, but you know what? Who's going to have that fight? Because this is a championship, contender maker right here. Because Kamaru fought last month. Whoever wins this, I could see this being, the winner of this goes up to fight the winner of Colby versus Kamaru. And I don't see Steven at this point in his career. You want to talk about ages and stuff like that. I think he's the older guy in this fight. I don't see him having that same drive. Jimmy brought up a chip on the shoulder. I can't see him having that same chip on his shoulder. Whereas Gilbert Burns was so close that he could almost taste the belt. I have a feeling that drive, the knowledge that he gained from the Kamaru fight, fighting a true champion, really is going to benefit him going forward. Whereas Steven, he's an incredible kickboxer. He's great on the ground, on his feet. But Gilbert Burns knows how to rock you. He now knows that as soon as he rocks you with that shot, he needs to attack you with a double leg takedown, bring you to the ground, and submit you. And I think that was the number one piece missing with Kamaru Usman. And I think that, he'll take that up against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. I hate to see him lose. I hate to pick against him because I am a huge fan. And I hope he is watching right now. Stephen, if you're watching, come on the show. Tell me why I'm wrong.
Let's talk to Sweet T, your brother, too.
Yeah, that would be great. And, maybe when you go down to meet him in South Carolina, you could tell him, what I said about him here. Hopefully he's working on his BJJ for this fight. But I just – the drive, the ability, the youth, a lot of things are pointing in Gilbert Burns' direction. As soon as we finish up this video, I'm going to check on with my book. I'm going to make sure that Gilbert Burns isn't available for a future because I will be locking in Gilbert Burns. There's no two ways about it. Gilbert Burns is going to beat Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. I can't wait to run this clip back in a couple of months when I'm correct. I cannot wait to hear who Jimmy picks. Tom, before he does, do you have anything more to say about that?
Stephen Thompson should be the champion already because he fought Tyron Woodley to a split decision that I believe he won. Or should have won at least. So I think Stephen Wonderboy should be the champion. He's just too nice to say it. Similar to Robert Whittaker, the nicest guys in the UFC, they're not going to sit there. They're not going to call out the champion. They're not going to do anything like that. So some people, casuals, may misinterpret that as them not having drive or not having a chip on their shoulder. The fact of the matter is they just don't – they're too nice to say, hey, I want to fight against this guy because I'm going to kick his goddamn ass. That it's just not going to happen. You're not going to hear Stephen Thompson say it. The closest thing you'll get to that is, hey, I think I've done enough to deserve a title shot, but I'm open to whatever Dana and the matchmakers want. What's the closest thing you're going to say? He said that. He deserves it. And with a win over Gilbert Burns, he better goddamn get it. Or I'm taking my shares and I'm going to Dana and I'm slapping around in the face because I'm a part owner, as you are, Keith.
Yeah, no, I got those EDR shares. And Jimmy, if you haven't bought them yet, I'm not a financial advisor, so don't take my financial advice. Keep that in mind. But the Endeavor Group does have a bright future with the UFC. Stephen Thompson, he's the nicest guy. That doesn't sell fights. And in order to get that championship bout, you need to be the Colby Covington guy. There's a reason why Colby hasn't fought since his last fight against Kamaru, and he's getting the title shot. Niceness doesn't get you title shots. The chirping, the talking, the meanness, the aggressiveness, the chip on your shoulder, well, that is what gets you that spot. And even if Steven wins this one, well, he may not get that title shot just because they know it won't sell.
Because Kamaru's running. Because Kamaru doesn't want to face him because Kamaru wants to keep the belt. Same reason he's running from Colby. Same reason why he'll run from Stephen Thompson.
Yeah, Kamaru does pick and choose his fights. It's really obvious at this point. And, he wants to fight GSP. I saw that with Ali Abdelaziz today on Twitter. Because GSP does want to make his comeback. I don't know if the people out there.
He's picking a 40-year-old guy. Granted, it's GSP, but a 40-year-old GSP. Come on, Kamaru. You pick easy fights. Stop it.
40-year-old GSP is still smoking Kamaru Usman. I'm calling that now. If that fight gets made, I'm taking GSP any fucking day of the week. Do you have anything more you want to say about this one?
I want to hear from Jimmy.
Yeah, so do I.
Honestly, this one is a toss-up for me. I really think, honestly, it could go either way. Like, they're both really skilled fighters. I think someone's just going to get lucky, and that person will be Gilbert.
Okay, we got Jimmy picking with me for one. And you're not wrong. I do think that Gilbert is going to get lucky, like he got that lucky rock against Kamaru Usman. And I think that this time when he does rock Steven, the older man in this fight, he's going to know exactly what to do with that rock. He's not going to say, let me sit back and see what happens next. It's pursue, pursue, pursue. And that's exactly what we're going to see. Gilbert Burns, he's great. He's a great striker. Don't discredit his striking. He's not as good as Stephen Wonderboy in that aspect. But when he strikes him and when he rocks him, he will take him to the ground and he will submit him. Tom, I dare you to argue with me there.
Yeah, but I just don't think that's going to happen. I mean, the argument is not who has the better ground game. The argument is, one, is Gilbert going to be able to get him to the ground? Two, is Steven going to be able to get up from the ground before he's in a precarious position? I don't think Gilbert's going to have the reach or the technical ability to hurt Steven to the way it's going to take in order to get him to the ground and submit him. We haven't seen it yet, and I can't wait for Steven to come out there and prove you wrong. And I'm going to send this clip to him, and, when he and I are best friends, maybe we'll have a podcast and we'll cut you out.
Hey, you know what? If you want to do that, that's fine. I wouldn't even blame you if you wanted to cut me out to start a podcast with Steven, but I can't see him looking at you and being like, yeah, let me just join up with this guy when I got my own thing going. Unfortunately, nothing against you, but Steven has his thing going. If he does, good for you. Maybe have me on as a guest and we'll chug beers together.
I have that X Factor personality,
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but I don't know. I'm not going to count myself out just yet. Why don't we drink?
No, it has nothing to do with you whatsoever. You're a great co-host, Tom. I'm happy to have you here. You guys are going to smoke me with this one, too. Let's do it. Cheers, boys.
Ooh.
Tom, don't get it twisted. I love having you as a co-host. You're a great guy. You really?
Oh, no, Keith, I wouldn't leave you, man. But, I mean, if Steven said me or him, I mean, I'm sorry.
I respect the decision. I don't know where Jimmy went. I hope it's to go get a bottle of liquor somewhere. But
Like, clear some room.
well, I'm glad I put a towel down before this one.
I should have done that. I have beer all over my bed.
Oh, it's on your bed? Shit, man. I was hoping maybe you had a carpeted floor that you could just hit it with a little towel with afterwards or something.
I do have a carpeted floor. If I had a hardwood floor, it would be infinitely better.
That's what I have. That's what I have here. But no biggie. So this is a fight. Oh boy, what you got there? Michelob?
Blue Moon White.
Oh.
Michelob Ultra or a bunch of cons.
Oh, okay. So no Michelobs around here, even though they got the low calories. You know, we are a fighting podcast, and we do like to keep in decent shape. So sometimes we rock with those Michelobs, but
I have a story behind this.
Oh, well, let's hear it real quick.
All right, so me and Michelob Ultra, I slid in their DMs one night. I may or may not have been a few beers deep. So how many retweets for a care package? They go, 250 plus, and we got you. So long story short, I ended up getting the 250. They're like, oh, we'll send it to you. Then I send them my address. Nothing since.
Michelob, what the hell?
Jimmy, tell us what you think about Michelob Ultra after that complete diss. What do you think about that brand right now?
They're just a trash company with no honor. That's what I think.
No honor.
What we need to do is have you slide into the DMs of Modelo, brewed with a fighting spirit. The official beer of the UFC. They'll appreciate you. They'll appreciate the podcast. They'll appreciate the call out and the love. Let's see if we can get Jimmy to, get a care package from Modelo.
Well, I know this is kind of off topic a little, but while I'm here, I want to call it the Nelk Boys because they're never on Twitter, but they're on YouTube. So wherever you are, I challenge you to chug off on Twitter.
All right, dude. I think that man Steve will do it. He may take you up on that. That is something I would love to see. Maybe what you got to do is look out for the next merch drop. Yeah, look out for the next merch drop and potentially buy like one of the boots that Steve will do. It has. I'm sure if you chugged faster from that than he does, that he will be down to choose you for the gauntlet. And then the other way you might get on there is if you get married, because they did, I don't know how soon you are looking to get a fiance. Yeah, but
No, I'm living the single bachelor life and enjoying it.
But if you want that Nelk stardom, you might just have to find a fiance real quick, because shout out to them real quick. They did have a pretty cool video, taking a dude out to Vegas, paying for his bachelor party. And then he sparred with Justin Gaethje. Now, if you get married, you go find yourself a lovely lady within the next 2 months. We'll hit them up. It doesn't matter who she is because divorce is a thing in this country. And 50% of marriages end in divorce anyway. So you go find that lovely lady that we can take out to Vegas, and I will spar Justin Gaethje for you. How's that sound?
Sounds like a deal.
Pound it up, brother. All right, so the next one we got, it is a fight that you wanted to talk about. It is outside of the MMA world, but Jimmy specifically wanted to bring this up. I'm very curious to hear what kind of points he has to make for this, so we are going to give you the floor first. We have Floyd Mayweather versus Logan Paul. What do you think, Jim? What do you got there?
This is a big fight everyone's talking about, which is, it shouldn't be that way. They should be talking about actual fights, but that's another topic for another day, but we're here anyway. So, I like, obviously I'm going to like Mayweather in this. There's no way just a random YouTuber is going to come out. I mean, the Pauls, they're just amazing at boxing for being YouTubers, but against a legend, no shot.
Yeah.
Unless that's the only thing I can think of, if they paid Floyd off to lose.
So we won't get too into unless you want to, Tom, about how boxing is potentially fixed on a regular basis. because it's easier to fix than it is in the MMA world. You know, there's so many more elements at hand there. And trust me,
That was fixed.
yeah, it could have been. It could have been. I don't know. I mean, I personally took Ben Askren going into that one. So, and, you know, he is a real fighter. So I was kind of rocking with Ben there. But I will say with this one, purely because of how the lines are going to look going into this one, it'll probably be plus 12, no, probably plus 120,000.
I think Logan at this point is plus 720 because I saw something on Twitter that was like Logan Paul is less of an underdog than Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor was like plus 900. I think Logan Paul is plus 720, and I think that has partially to do with his youth, his size, and his reach. However, this is going to be one of the first times that Logan has to face a weight cut. I think fighting I want to say arguably, but it's really not even that arguably, best defensive boxer of all time. The argument for Logan is, oh, if Logan just touches him, it's over. Well, okay, Logan's yet to KO anybody, number one. Okay, so you're just saying because his brothers KO'd people, now Logan, by some transitive property, can do that? That's not necessarily how power works. So I'm not going to buy into that, number one. But number two, you ain't touching Floyd. You know, anybody who's ever boxed, took a boxing class, done some kickboxing, knows that it's not just like, oh, I'm guessing. There's a science to it, the sweet science, as they call it. But your brain isn't doing these calculations in real time. Your brain just has done so much boxing once you've gone to that Floyd Mayweather level that it knows what to do. It can sense, you know, oh, I see in his body movements, when his body goes like this, it means a right hook's coming. And it can see that, notice it, and react to it before it happens. And he's already out of the way. And when you slip a punch, you're not, you know, moving far out of the way where the punch comes over here. You're like staying like this, like it barely misses you. If you're keeping your distance, it's going to go and it's going to just barely just maybe touch the tip of your nose. And nobody manages distance better than Floyd Mayweather. So what Floyd's going to do, he's going to stand there. He's going to wait. He's going to wait for Logan to throw something. Logan and Floyd is either going to step back from it and then give him a nice pop to the body. He's going to duck under, go uppercut, left hook. I mean, I don't think there's a way that Logan wins this fight. I really don't. I mean, he could try to hold on him and try and tire him out. But again, we're talking about Floyd Mayweather, a guy with 50 fights, a guy that outlasted Conor McGregor, and Conor McGregor had years of experience of fighting, right? Conor McGregor did fairly decently considering that he was an MMA guy. And Conor McGregor had actually landed on Floyd, which is something that not very many boxers have done, at least as of late when Floyd is curating his opponents. So, I mean, I don't think Logan has any shot. And even at whatever Floyd is going to be minus 1,000, minus 1,200, I think that's lock money.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to want to bet on Floyd in that situation because he is probably minus 12,000. But I will say this. I won't lock it in now because those lines are only going to get crazier. But imagine this, right? You have Jake Paul knocking out real fighters. You have Logan Paul, who hasn't really presented himself as much of a knockout artist at this point. And he wouldn't win on the cards just because of how technical a boxer Floyd Mayweather is. But if you watch his sparring videos, Logan Paul does have knockout power. And in a way, I do think that Floyd Mayweather is at the, so to speak, the ass end of his career where he is taking these Logan Paul fights. You cannot deny that if Floyd Mayweather was really, you know, still about it, he wouldn't be taking the top guys in the world, right? And at plus 720 with a line that's only going to move further away from Logan Paul's direction, probably sitting at around plus 900 by the time this fight starts, purely from a betting standpoint and slightly from a narrative standpoint. Imagine what it would do to the sport of boxing if Logan Paul went out there and beat Floyd Mayweather. I don't think he'll land that fight, but very funny video, Sunday Conversations with Caleb Presley. He interviewed Floyd Mayweather, and he is totally counting Logan Paul out of the equation right now.
As he should.
As he should, for sure. Purely based on track record between the two guys. I mean, I won't even say the two fighters because Logan Paul isn't much of a fighter. But we have this thing happening to boxing right now where the Paul brothers are taking over. There's no denying it. The two of them are very good at selling themselves. They're actually very tough guys, to quote Chael again. Not the Logan Paul brothers, but the Paul brothers are tough guys. Now, you put in the youth, you put in the reach advantage, you put in the knockout power that I don't necessarily think that Floyd Mayweather has over Logan Paul. And Floyd Mayweather is saying he's going to knock Logan Paul out. Does this mean that we're going to see a very aggressive Floyd Mayweather looking to knock out this YouTuber and put boxing right back where it was? Well, is this a different Floyd Mayweather than we've seen in the past? Is he going to go out and be aggressive and not defensive? If this is the case, I do have a weird feeling in my gut, and my gut has never steered me wrong. As big as it is, it's never steered me in the wrong direction. Logan Paul could potentially knock Floyd Mayweather out. Now, my pick on this come fight night is going to be very dependent on what Chael picks, because if Chael picks Floyd Mayweather, well, I'm putting the big money on on Logan Paul. But think of it from a narrative standpoint. You have Jake Paul knocking out guys that have actually fought in real arenas before. You have Logan Paul, who's fought YouTubers. Now imagine he goes out there and knocks out Floyd Mayweather. And obviously the narrative doesn't always work out the way that, a lot of people think it will. But could you imagine that for the sport of boxing, where the Paul brothers are suddenly the best boxers in the world? Everything seems to work out for these guys. Why not this?
Because they're against a legitimate boxer, and everyone else they faced has either been new to boxing or not a boxer.
Right, but then we do talk about the money fights, right? We talked about that from the Dustin Poirier perspective, where being a money fight as opposed to a fight where it's like, okay, this will legitimize me more and solidify my legacy. Well, Floyd Mayweather is doing this for the money.
He did the Conor McGregor for the money.
Yes, no denying that. But he did understand that Conor McGregor was a threat. Conor McGregor, like you mentioned before, did land a couple of punches on him.
Logan's not a threat, and Logan is nowhere near the boxer that McGregor is.
Do we know that?
All due respect, buddy, I hate this take from you. I hate this take. I hate the betting line. You're giving FanDuel and DraftKings money. You're feeding into the Paul's hands. Like, listen, at the end of the day, 3 years, 4 years of boxing, no matter how good you are and how much money you have to pay the best trainers, at the end of the day, to expect that no matter how big or small you are, that you can beat the best of all time, that you can even touch him, is such a crazy thought that they're going to get themselves hurt soon. Listen, I'm all for Jake fighting legitimate boxers if he wants to be considered a legitimate boxer. Logan, his last 2 fights were against another YouTuber who wasn't a legitimate boxer, and he lost them. And now he's going to fight Floyd, the best defensive boxer of all time. Floyd could be the size of Hasbulla, and he would still win. And I know that that's going to hurt you to your core.
No, I mean, Hasbulla, he's not looking to fight Logan Paul anytime soon, or, Khabib or McGregor.
He couldn't even beat a monkey.
Okay, but a monkey does present a lot more than Abdu Rozek, who is his next opponent. But my biggest gripe with Floyd Mayweather in this fight, that I think that presents the biggest challenge for himself, is the fact that he's saying it now. He's looking for the knockout. We've never seen a Floyd Mayweather that's been anything but technical and defensive.
He had a TKO against Conor McGregor.
Right. But that was also Conor McGregor, who pieced him up early in the rounds, got tired because he's not used to those long form boxing fights. He's used to knocking guys out who don't necessarily. I'm just
To
saying.
say Conor pieced him up is an exaggeration.
All right, yeah, it is an exaggeration for sure. You got me there. But I will say this. If you have a Floyd that comes and walks up to Logan Paul and purely is looking for the KO punch, Logan Paul is expecting this. Logan Paul is ready for the aggressive Floyd Mayweather. Maybe I'll be wrong in July. I probably will be wrong in July.
I think you've been wrong on every single pick so far.
No, because we did together. No, we picked together on McGregor. So by saying that, then you'd be
aside from McGregor, and I'll give you the Gilbert Burns as much as I would love to see Stephen Thompson win. I think he's gonna win. I definitely see paths to victory for Gilbert for sure.
And there's
outside of those,
there's not as many paths to victory for Logan Paul here. But I will say this: if Floyd Mayweather is not this defensive boxer that we are used to, that we've seen our entire lives, literally our whole lives, because when he won his first belt, I think I was 13. If we see a different kind of Floyd Mayweather that says, I just want to humble this guy and his brother through him, that think that they are boxing now, well, we may see a sloppy Floyd Mayweather. I will tell you this. You look at his haircut and his beard alone, we're seeing a sloppy Floyd Mayweather.
True. That's true.
He's not even getting
his haircut
his
and
beard.
his beard looks terrible.
He's not getting his beard or his hair cut for this fight.
Well, no, he got implants. That beard is all implants.
Well, good for him because
you know that? It's all implants.
I got to fill in this little chin area. I mean, this cheek area over here. You know.
Here's the thing, Keith. If you can't grow a beard, don't try to grow a beard, and that's it.
Does my beard look
You're happy with your beard, or you go clean shaven, or you make it work. Don't get hair implants from the place behind the McDonald's and then rock it like you look good with it. And that's my problem with Floyd. But either way, I see Floyd win on this one.
Does my beard look okay? Do I need hair implants on my cheek?
Not if they're going to look like the way Floyd Mayweather's do.
Well, that doesn't answer my question at all, but I have been applying that Rogaine to my forehead and my cheeks, so, we'll see what happens. Maybe by the time that fight starts, I'll have a real beard. Jimmy looks like he has something to say. What do you got for us, Jim?
There's just no way, on this planet that Logan Paul is going to beat Floyd. It's not possible.
So what are you telling me? Are you going to throw $1,200 on Floyd Mayweather to win $100?
Well, no, that's just dumb, but there's no way that Floyd's going to win.
There's no way that Floyd's going to win? No, I'm sorry. I know that was a slip of the tongue.
That's the boost talking. There's no way Floyd's going to lose.
Yes, but I will say this. If you're so confident in Floyd winning, why won't you throw $1,200 on him to win $100?
Well, who says that? You know what? I will.
You going to lock it in now, Jim?
Who says I have $1,200? Let's just back that up, all right? We got at the time of this video, we have 60 subscribers. Let's not act like we're rich millionaires here. Who says I got $1,200 sitting around to put on Floyd goddamn Mayweather and his scraggly beard?
And that's my point exactly, is I will be throwing money on Logan Paul more than anything because it's $20 to win $140 at the line being what it is now. It'll be $20 to win $180 when this line moves to plus 900.
Or it's $20 to lose $20.
Well, what's $20? In the words of P. Diddy, what's $20 to a pimp like me? It does
a lot of these little guys.
I don't even like Bud Light. I just bought these for the show. I'm a Casamigos guy.
Hey, don't you dare talk shit about Bud Light.
Yeah. Okay, Guinness is my beer of choice. If you've watched this in the past, you'll see me sipping on a old dark stout. But
see, I like Guinness, but I can't have more than 2 of them.
Yeah, they're tough on your belly. That's why I'm not chugging those tonight. But I will say,
they're so good though. If you have a burger and fries or wings with it, I can't beat it.
Absolutely, it's like drinking a milkshake. It's delicious.
Yeah.
But just imagine this. 2 months from now, the Logan Paul, I'm sorry, I keep saying the Logan Paul brothers, I mean the Paul brothers, dominate the world of boxing. You have Jake Paul, who's going to fight probably Tommy Fury next. You have Logan Paul, who is almost definitely going to fight Floyd Mayweather next. Could you imagine a world where boxing becomes the biggest joke ever because you have these two YouTubers on top? I can. With the way things are trending, I mean, it's almost like we live in a simulation at this point.
That's why UFC is just so much better anymore. It's like not even on the same level.
The man proved our point right there. That's why this is a UFC podcast, not boxing. There's 168 active champions in boxing right now, and there's only
what is that?
there's only 8 active UFC champions, I believe. I don't know how many weight classes there are off the top of my head, but sounds about right. Maybe 9.
There's 12 if you include men and women.
Well, that's still a whole lot less than 168. Boxing is a joke. Logan Paul, boxing is a joke. And if he wins against Floyd Mayweather, it proves that boxing is a joke.
I'll never watch. All right, I'll riddle you this. If Logan Paul wins, I will never watch another boxing match as long as I live.
And I believe a lot of fans feel the same way as you, and that's why boxing is going to die with a Logan Paul winning Floyd Mayweather.
There's no way in hell that could happen or should happen unless it's fixed. Like,
cannot. Well, that's the thing. You never know with boxing because it is an easy sport to fix.
What if we don't know behind the scenes, but maybe Floyd just wants a payday and just, as long as I got you, just go make it look good.
Yeah, RIP to my legacy. Logan Paul, you've got everything to fight for going forward. Floyd Mayweather doesn't have much to fight left for except for the money. Who knows, man? It could happen. I feel like we've said all that we need to say about this fight. We could argue for weeks about this. We could be on this Zoom, this podcast for hours and hours. But
until the fight starts.
The people at home have heard enough. You're 100% right, Jim. We could fight for about 2.5 months about who's going to win this one. I'm staking money on Logan Paul. It's, in my opinion, that line's only going to move worse for him, which makes it better for my pocket. So let's cheers it up.
This is my last one, too, that I have.
Well,
I should have bought more than 5, but
it's okay. We'll keep it rocking for you.
The brigade was out in full force last night, man. It went through my beer a lot.
we missed a Four Loko chug, man. That would have been great to have here for the start. Well,
I don't think I could do it, but I don't think I'll be coherent to do a talk show for an hour afterwards.
I totally agree, brother. All right, cheers, boys.
All right, cheers.
Ugh.
Well, that just about does it for our fight talk. But Jimmy, a.k.a. JimmyRaiders.
Yes, sir. The one and only.
We're going to cap it off. You guys are going to have about 15 minutes to talk about the Raiders. You boys do your thing. I'm going to step out of the room real quick to relieve myself from the bladder, not the stomach. Although
no puking on this show is allowed.
No, absolutely never. We don't go down to bladder shots. Only bladder shots. So that's what I'm going to do real quick. But you boys get to talking about the Raiders, all right? Enjoy.